UTS LCS Plus tracking device. This is our OBD2 quick connect cable. This is your main unit, and this is the wiring harness that you'll use to connect the actual device into the OBD quick connect harness. To perform the installation, you're going to need a few simple hand tools. One would be a pick tool or panel popper, and that's just for removing some of the clips that we're going to encounter in the dash. A knife to be able to cut some of the factory wire looms that are in the vehicle. A wire cutter, a 7mm socket, and a wire stripper. This is the main LCS Plus control module. This is your actual GPS unit. This is the wiring harness that we're going to use to connect into the vehicle that will connect to this device. On the wiring harness, there are 4 wires. The black wire is a ground wire. It's going to go to the vehicle chassis ground. The red wire is going to go to a constant power source. This is a source that is not switched when the key is turned on or off and remains at 12 volts at all time. The other 2 wires are used for additional features that we have, such as tow alert and starter disable. The first thing we want to do is pre-wire our harness. Basically what we're going to do is start masking this harness to make it easier to run through the vehicle and also to hide the wiring so that anybody that potentially gets into the vehicle does not immediately notice that there's a tracking device in it. We're going to do that by just taking some electrical tape and starting at the top of the harness. You always want to leave a little bit of wire at the top just so you have a place to come in and check these wires with a meter if you ever have any problems with the unit. And we're just going to go in and start taping these wires together. At first what I want to do is I want to tape all of the wires together in one bundle. And we'll tape all the way to the fuse and take the additional wires and continue taping those. And then we'll start back up on the back side of the fuse. You can just break the tape off and you'll see what our pre-wired harness looks like, ready to go into the vehicle. So now we've gone from having just bare wires to having everything taped up. It looks nice, it's clean, everything's contained, and we're able to go and plug this into our unit and begin our installation.
Okay, we're here installing the UTS LCS Plus. This install is going to be on a 2000 Chevrolet truck. We're going to show you how to put the device in. This is going to be a quick, basic install, so we're not going to go to any great length as far as hiding the unit, but we are going to mount it in a stealth location where it's not visible to the driver. And this is mainly for functionality and just in case you need to do a quick install on a vehicle. The first thing you're going to do on this truck is actually pop off this dash bezel, and there are no screws holding it in, it's just clips, so all we're going to do is pull that off and go ahead and take that out of the vehicle and set it aside. The next thing that we're going to do is remove the bottom part of the dash, and that's where we're going to need the 7mm socket that we showed you earlier, and we'll just use that to remove these 2 screws that are on the bottom side of the dash. After you've removed the 2 screws, this panel will simply pop off. There's 2 clips, one on the left and one on the right. And after we remove this panel, we can just set it aside. The next thing that we're going to need to do is remove the light switch in the vehicle. And we'll do that by simply... The next thing we need to do is remove the headlight switch housing out of the vehicle. And we'll do that by pulling on it. It's got some clips in it. If you have problems with one of the clips hanging, you can use a pick tool like this. And you'll be able to go in behind the clip and pop it out. There's actually 4 clips that hold this in. One of them is inside this hole down in here. Once we have that out, we can just pull this out and lay it to the side. The last thing we're going to have to remove is the OBD diagnostic connector. This is where we're going to get our power and ground from for our GPS unit. There's a 7mm screw that holds this in. Just simply remove the screw, and the connector should hang freely underneath the dash. This is the LCS Plus main control module. There's a sticker on the bottom side that says this side down. You want to make sure that this is always facing down, that your unit can be facing up towards the sky. The top portion of the unit is where the GPS antenna is, and it needs to be located as high as possible in the dash of the vehicle. And you also want to make sure that there's no metal on top of it, as it will not read through metal. It will read through plastic and it will read through glass. We're going to put a piece of double-side tape on the top of this unit, and that's just to help it to adhere inside the dashboard and keep it from moving around. And I'm just going to use my knife and and go ahead and cut a small piece. And we'll just stick that to the top of the unit. The next thing that we're going to do is take the harness that we pre-wired earlier and plug it into the main control module. You want to make sure that you feel the click and make sure that the connector is pressed down and that it's firmly locked into the device. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and mount our device into the dashboard. Before we do that, take note that there is a small hole in the unit, and this is where our diagnostic LEDs are. These are the LED lights that are going to flash to tell you if your unit is working or not. At your option, you can tape these before your installation or after you're done. But you want to make sure you put a piece of tape over this, and that's just to keep the driver of the vehicle from ever seeing lights flashing through a crack in the dash and wondering what those lights are inside the vehicle. So I'm going to go ahead now and just take a small piece of tape and put it over those lights. Okay, I've got those lights taped up, and now we're ready to actually install the unit into the vehicle. First thing I'm going to do is remove the double-side tape and get that ready. And the next thing I'm going to do is go ahead and take the vehicle, move the steering column down, and take the vehicle out of gear. That gives me the most amount of room to work. Now you'll see that there's a metal bracket up here inside the dash. We're going to wedge our unit in between that metal and the top of the dash. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the unit and come in here like so and stick it in there to where I feel comfortable that it's going to get a good grip, and push it up in there. The unit is now mounted in the vehicle, and as you can see, all the wiring is on the back side, so we don't see anything on the front. It's all smooth and clean up here. Next thing that we're going to do is remove the headlight switch that we took out earlier. We're going to pull that out, and we're just going to take our wire connector. Next thing we're going to do is just pull out the headlight switch that we removed earlier, and we're going to begin to route our wiring down through the dash. Now, it's very important that when you're wiring this unit and that you're running the wire and routing it through the dash, that you try to hide it as much as possible. These units are available to track your vehicles 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, but they will not do so if the unit is not installed right or if it gets found in the vehicle. So being able to make a stealth installation where the device is hidden and the wiring is routed and hidden as much as possible is very important when you're doing the installations. We're just going to route this wiring that we have here down through the dashboard and run it in behind that switch, and we're going to send it down to the bottom of the dash where our OBD2 connector that we took loose earlier is waiting. And I'm just going to feed that wire down through the dash. This is our OBD2 Quick Connect harness. The next step is you're going to take this harness and it will plug into the factory OBD2 connector in the car that we took loose earlier. Just make sure that it snaps in and it's got a good firm connection. And then you want to take your wire that we pre-wired earlier. This is the main unit harness, and we're just going to plug that in to this unit. You'll make sure you hear a click and make sure that the connector is pressed down. Once you know you have a good connection, then the unit is actually powered up at this point. The next thing that we want to do is go ahead and start to put the vehicle back together and secure the wiring. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and just feed this OBD2 harness back up into the dash where we routed the wire through earlier. And just tuck the connector up inside there so that it doesn't fall out of the dashboard. The last thing that we're going to do is remove the headlight switch once again, and we're going to see that the OBD2 plug that we fed up through the dash is there. And what we're going to do is just simply pull the slack of the wire. This is our main power harness. We're just going to pull that slack up into here, into this cavity, and we're just going to fold it over and put a zip tie on it. And all we're really doing is securing this wire so it doesn't fall out from under the bottom of the dash, or the customer doesn't see any wiring that's hanging loose below the dash of the vehicle. So we'll just go ahead and put that zip tie on, and then using our wire cutters, we'll cut that off flush. At this point, your installation is finished and you can begin to put the vehicle back together.